Today, I will tell you about the truly shocking case of Ria Isagai. Honestly, while I was writing the script and digging through the materials, I got chills myself. So I want to warn you, watch this video at your own risk. This story is filled with so much injustice on such a massive scale that it's hard to comprehend. And there will be no happy ending here. But since you're still here and ready to face this horror, let's dive into today's story. It all began in a small village in Japan's Gifu Prefecture, a place that rarely made the news for any major incidents. However, early in the morning on August 25, 2007, freshly dug up soil was discovered near a road leading through the mountains. When the police started digging, they uncovered a gruesome sight: the body of a young woman. Later, it would be revealed that she had disappeared just a few hours earlier while returning home from work in a neighboring prefecture. Thus, the life of 31-year-old office worker Ria Isagai was tragically cut short. This case once again proved that even in one of the safest countries in the world, horrifying crimes can still happen, especially when they are planned in the darknet. And all of this over someone else's debts and greed, for which 3 men were willing to commit unspeakable acts. Before that fateful night, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Ria Isagai worked in an office in Nagoya, where she lived with her mother, Fumiko. She had lost her father as a child, and her mother was the only family she had left. Although they lived modestly, their bond was strong. Neighbors remembered Ria as a kind and cheerful girl who worked diligently every day. In the evenings, she enjoyed playing her favorite board game, Go, with friends at local cafes. One of her biggest goals was to save enough money to buy a small house where she and her mother could live together. That Friday evening, August 24th, Ria stayed late at work as usual, finishing up tasks and looking forward to the weekend. But the road home, which she had walked hundreds of times, turned out to be deadly on that particular night. Now let's talk about Nagoya. It's the heart of Aichi Prefecture and one of Japan's largest cities, home to industrial giants, automobile manufacturers, and much more. Despite its fast-paced business environment and large population, Nagoya has plenty of quiet suburbs where the streets are empty after 10 p.m. Ria's neighborhood was one of those places. Many residents felt safe there and weren't afraid to come home late. People moved to such areas expecting a peaceful life. But life is unpredictable, and criminals know very well that quiet places mean fewer witnesses. This is exactly what the trio of perpetrators took advantage of. As it would later be revealed, they had been driving around the area looking for a suitable victim. The dark web or darknet is often said to be filled with crime. That's only partly true. Yes, there are smugglers and scammers, but there are also those who seek refuge from censorship or simply value anonymity. The problem is that anonymity creates a perfect environment for criminals. And finding forums in the darknet is easier than one might think, while law enforcement struggles to monitor everything. It was there, in the summer of 2007, that 40-year-old Kenji Kawajishi posted a short message. Looking for partners for a crime. Any takers? At first, people thought it was just trolling or a joke. But Kawajishi was dead serious. 2 men responded, 36-year-old Tsukasa Kanda and 32-year-old Yoshitomo Hori. All 3 of them were in debt and desperately wanted to fix their financial situation, with the law being the least of their concerns. Kenji Kawajishi, in particular, had a rough upbringing. He had serious kidney problems from childhood, and his peers didn't pity him. Instead, they bullied him. Eventually, he adopted an antisocial lifestyle. Petty theft and scams became part of his daily routine. Interestingly, Kawajishi managed to get married and even had 4 children, but according to his ex-wife, he was aggressive and frequently abusive. His constant debts, arrests, and prison sentences only pushed him further down a dark path. After his house was repossessed due to unpaid bills, he was practically living out of his car. When he was released from prison yet again, he had no intention of finding honest work. That's why he posted that message on the darknet, hoping to find like-minded, reckless individuals. And he did. Tsukasa Kanda didn't have a happy childhood either. He endured constant criticism and beatings from his father, along with chronic headaches that had plagued him since his youth. He got involved in fraud at an early age and was frequently caught. After working for the Asahi Shimbun newspaper for a while, Kanda found himself struggling. His salary was low, and his debts kept piling up. According to acquaintances, he had a short temper and frequently clashed with colleagues. Yoshitomo Hori, on the other hand, had no prior criminal record, but he was drowning in debt, over 4 million yen, roughly $25,000. He was known to enjoy playing darts, but in reality, he was deeply desperate. He realized he couldn't get out of debt on his own, and when he saw Kawajishi's post on the darknet, he decided it was time for something drastic. Before long, Hori, Kanda, and Kawajishi formed a criminal coalition. On August 21, 2007, they gathered at Hori's house to lay out their ideas and devise a plan. Their plans varied: robberies, kidnappings, extortion, and raids on pachinko parlors, which are incredibly popular in Japan. On August 22nd, the very next day, they attempted to track a man who drove away from a pachinko parlor in a luxurious Lexus. They figured that if he could afford such a car, he must have a lot of money. However, when they followed him home, they discovered that his house had a security system and a dog in the yard. Not wanting to take the risk, the criminals backed off. The next day, they tried again, but the target was unreachable. Their intended victim lived in a well-guarded apartment complex. In a shopping mall, they even attempted to purchase a gold chain using a stolen credit card, but that plan failed too. All these failures frustrated them immensely and drove them toward more brutal methods. 14 years of schooling and 8 years of office work had not prepared Ria Isagai for an encounter with 3 criminals. On Friday, August 24th, she finished her work at around 10 p.m. and started walking home. It was close to 11 p.m. when she noticed a car parked in a strange way on a dark street. One man appeared to be tinkering under the hood, while another was standing off to the side. As she approached, she heard a polite voice. "Excuse me, do you know where the nearest 24-hour store is?" Perhaps she even wanted to help, but at that very moment, a third man suddenly rushed at her from behind and violently dragged her into the car. Ria screamed, but there was no one around. The trio quickly turned onto a more secluded road and headed toward the mountains. Thus, what should have been a routine walk home ended in an abduction, one that would become the first and only violent act in their scheme, but with absolutely monstrous consequences. It is claimed that Ria never stopped resisting and begged to be released. The criminals searched her bag and found only 62,000 yen, roughly $400. To the 3 of them, this seemed like a laughable amount. They then demanded her ATM card PIN, expecting that her account held much more. According to one version, Ria gave them the wrong code, hoping to at least confuse them. Frustrated and enraged, the kidnappers decided not to leave a witness. The exact sequence of events is known only from the criminals' accounts. Allegedly, they struck her with a hammer about 30 times and then strangled her. Later, they stopped by a store, bought shovels, and around 4:30 a.m., buried her body near a mountain road. This area was already in another prefecture, Gifu, and was quite remote. Hardly anyone traveled there, and they seemed confident that no one would find the body anytime soon. By morning, around 9 a.m., the gang went to an ATM to withdraw money from the victim's account. But as luck would have it, or rather, to the benefit of justice, they couldn't remember the PIN Ria had given them. They tried different combinations, but it was all in vain. The ATM simply locked the card, further fueling their anger. And then they came up with an even more terrifying plan. "All right, we'll find another victim. Be more careful, write down the code." You see where this is going, right? They were planning to continue killing. Had they carried out their plan, more people could have suffered, as their conversations indicated they no longer saw any obstacles to violence. However, that day, things took a different turn. One of them, Kenji Kawajishi, couldn't handle the stress. He feared they would be caught soon and was terrified of the death penalty. What happened next was decisive. Kawajishi called the police and said, "I kidnapped a girl, dealt with her, and buried her in Gifu." For the investigators, this was like a bolt from the blue. Kidnappers don't usually surrender so quickly. At first, they thought it might be a prank, but the tone of his voice and the details he provided made them act. Kawajishi met with the police, was taken into custody, and led the officers to the burial site. That's how they found Ria Isagai's body, which had been lying under a thin layer of soil for less than a day. Soon, the police arrested his 2 accomplices, Kondo and Hori. They were stunned, but the fact was undeniable. The police had a confession and a location. Later, it would become clear that Kawajishi hoped that turning himself in would spare him the harshest punishment. This is a peculiarity of the Japanese legal system. Voluntary surrender and cooperation can sometimes lead to a lighter sentence. Ria's mother, Fumiko Isagai, was nearly driven mad by grief. Her daughter was her only family, as her husband had passed away long ago. Now, Fumiko had no one left. When identifying the body, she couldn't believe that someone could treat an innocent girl so cruelly. Someone who had simple dreams of continuing to work, saving for a house, and taking care of her mother. The press erupted in outrage. Journalists wrote that this shocking case shattered the stereotype of a safe Japan. People were appalled. How could someone kill a person over $400 and then even consider committing another crime? Even the fathers of two of the criminals publicly stated that their sons deserved the death penalty, as they themselves were horrified by the extent of the brutality. The investigation moved quickly, as the police had 3 confessions right away. Kawajishi insisted that Kondo had delivered the main blows, while Kondo, in turn, placed the blame on Hori. Hori claimed that he never intended to kill anyone and had only gone along to watch. The defense argued that it was an emotional breakdown and that their original intent had been robbery, not murder. It was also said that Japan typically does not issue the death penalty for a single murder. However, prosecutors pointed out that this crime was committed with extreme cruelty. The victim was defenseless, and the killers had planned to continue their crimes. In March 2009, the court ruled Kawajishi received life in prison, while Kondo and Hori were sentenced to death. Kawajishi was given a lesser sentence because he had called the police and revealed the location of the victim. Of course, this sparked controversy. Many believed he deserved the same punishment as the others since he had actively participated in the murder. After the verdict was announced, all 3 immediately filed appeals. During further proceedings, Yoshitomo Hori's death sentence was reduced to life in prison. The court ruled that he had not been the main instigator, but many in society protested. Did it really matter who led the crime? The brutality was shared among all of them. Tsukasa Kondo, on the other hand, acted differently. He completely refused to appeal and remained on death row. His sentence was carried out on June 25, 2015, by hanging. There is an interesting fact about Japan's death penalty. The execution date is never announced in advance. A prisoner can wait for 5, 10, or even 15 years, completely unaware of when it will happen. They only find out on the morning of their execution, while their family is informed only after it has been carried out. As for Kawajishi, there is very little information about him online. Most likely, he remains in prison, serving out his sentence with no hope of release. Some believe he consciously chose this path, fearing the worst possible outcome. After Ria Isagai's death, touching details of her life emerged. It turned out that she had been saving nearly half of her salary, already accumulating around 8 million yen. She had dreamed of one day buying a home, not a luxurious one, just a modest place of her own. Her mother recalled how Ria had talked about her future home, wanting to have a small garden. Her co-workers confirmed that she always took on extra work just to earn more. She didn't seek wealth or luxury. She simply wanted a warm and cozy home. And unfortunately, those dreams were shattered on that fateful night when she was forced into a car, given no chance to escape. The greed of 3 strangers erased her entire future. And as always, at the end of the video, I want to thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel. You'll find many more terrifying and bloody stories here. Let's discuss this case in the comments. Stay safe.